We're live.
Okay. Um, so overall, does it seem like the company is in good shape?
Um, I would say Square is in good shape overall. Um, from the assignment, it seems like they're doing fairly well on all 5 different values. And I got kind of curious on this one, and I did some further reading. And apparently, Square went public this past week.
Really?
Yeah, they went public on the 19th, which also happens to be Jack, what's his name's birthday.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that was, I guess, must have been intentional, but they were up by 45% at the end of trading on Friday.
Wow.
So they're not only doing well with what our information is, but they're doing well even now.
Yeah. So from what I read, right off the get-go, so I've actually used Square Cash. I used to have their card swiper. I used to be a fitness health coach on the side about a year and a half ago or so, but I didn't know that they also had Square Wallet and Square Market, which are other great avenues to, um, go into. So I thought it was just Square Cash, just the card reader was all they had.
Yeah.
Did you like it when you were using it?
Yes and no. It's very easy to use. I also tried. PayPal has their own version as well. So if you use eBay a lot and sell on eBay and kind of run your own business, I don't know. I just gave it PayPal a try as well. Their interest percentage that they make on all transaction was lower than Square Cash. Square Cash is actually extremely high. If you do your research as a business owner and end up purchasing these services to run debit and credit cards, there's other companies out there that will charge less than 1% per transaction, whereas Square Cash is a lot more than that.
Yeah, they were like 2.75 or something.
5%.
Yeah.
5%, yeah. So, which doesn't sound like much if you're buying something that's, or selling something that's under $100, but if you're a small business and you do a lot of transactions and you get into 4 and 5 figures for a transaction, that's an extreme amount of money.
Yeah.
So I have a really good friend, lifelong friend ever since elementary school, who has some family, and their business is producing and selling standard credit card machines that you find in basically any store you go into, and they're disgustingly wealthy. So it's a huge industry. It's not something you would think about ever, but.
Do you remember how much PayPal charges per transaction?
I think. Oh man, I want to say it was like 2.75 or 3%, or it might have been just under 4, like 4.25. I can't remember. It wasn't 5 though. It was less.
So they were more than. Were they more or less than on the Square?
Wasn't Square 5 or was Square less?
2.75.
Square is 2.75. Okay, yeah. I just remember it being less, so it might have been like 2.25 or 2.50. It wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
I think it was like a quarter or a 0.5% less.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't really
Your
get it
life.
because of that.
Okay. So overall, does it seem like the company is in good shape?
What was that?
Yep.
It was like replaying the
That was-
beginning.
Whose was that?
I think that was mine.
Oh, well. Okay.
It's off now though. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Should we move on to the next question, or do you guys have anything else to say on?
Well, I just think that they're doing good for what was in the thing, what we read about.
So what do you think is their strongest value and their weakest value?
I think their strongest value is they're extremely well known for somebody that's looking for those services that doesn't have a clue on where to start. They've probably heard of Square, or that's probably the first one that people will tell them. And as well, it's hard to get started in that industry. I think, I'm not positive on this, when you're brand new. Like, if someone like us were to, invest $5,000 into a snow cone shack, it's hard to be able to put up the money and show that you need services and that you want to get a really good service that's, maybe 0.25% interest. So it's just really easy to get Square Cash for anybody. So that's really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would agree. Probably their best value is going to be how well known they are, which would probably be. I'd say that probably relates more to value and use.
Yeah.
Right.
2.75% per transaction is a good transaction. Well, it's a decent rate.
Reading over the thing.
That can get pricey. At my job, we charge customers a 3% transaction per 3% per transaction, and that can get fairly steep when you get into some of the high dollar figures. People will pay $4,000 and $5,000. That can easily be several $100s per transaction. It seems like a small amount, but that can get fairly large. That can become a fairly large fee when you have a $1,000 plus transaction.
Yeah. I guess it says right here, I must have missed this or forgot about opportunity space. It says they're straightforward 2.75%, or if your company produces less than $275,000 a year in revenue, then it's only $275 a month. So it's capped.
Yeah.
So, but if you produce more, then you're not looking too good.
Mm-hmm.
I think before we move on, you can also get Square Cash card reader for free off their website.
Yeah.
Right here it says that it's $10 at the Apple Store. So for those that know about that, that's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's free to start up, basically.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, I didn't know it was free.
Yeah. My wife used Square for a while. She started selling custom-made jewelry several years ago. She doesn't sell it anymore, but she got a Square card reader back at that time, and they gave it to her for free. The only thing we had to pay for was the transactions, which they would take that right off the payment. Each time that a payment was paid to you, it would be deducted right from that.
Okay.
Okay. So how could you strengthen their weakest value then?
Question.
Their weakest value is probably going to be in distribution because it requires internet service in order to use. Everything else looks good as far as their numbers and where they're at, what they're doing. They are partnering with companies that are obviously out doing a great deal, many different things. They just got on the New York Stock Exchange. If you're in the public companies, that's a good thing. I would probably say lack of internet access for people because it is an online-only merchant.
Yeah.
You gonna say something, Austin?
No, I was just agreeing.
I'd agree with that too.
Yeah.
I mean, most businesses that need these merchant services have to have how does it work? Is it a phone line?
Yeah. For the old card readers, they use an old-fashioned modem inside
Right.
the card reader. That requires a phone line in order to do that. You can buy more expensive card readers that use cellular data, but they are significantly more. They're several $100s compared to their cheap landline ones, which you usually get for less than $50.
Yeah. I think, Chris, going in regards to their weakest link, they're also designed to work on devices that have the internet as well.
Yeah, you have to have a smartphone.
Yeah. So if you want to use it, you have to. But I don't know how much data it takes up, or
Yeah.
unless you're running it all day long, and you're crazy busy swiping left and right. I don't know what data usage is like.
Well, can it go off of Wi-Fi? Because I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of businesses have like Wi-Fi, and they pay for it already. So it's like I don't know if it would.
The nutrition club I worked at had Wi-Fi, and that's what we used.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, I remember that.
But if they didn't have Wi-Fi, then they'd be using their cellular data. And I feel like that would be.
You guys, if you were to go to a business, like a legit business, and you saw them use Square Cash, would you think that's like the easy way out, the cheap man's version to having merchant services?
I would not. Good.
I think it honestly depends on the company. Because like some, if they're like more busy, it might be for more of like a convenience thing. Yeah, I think it just kind of depends.
I don't know. My gym uses it like when I have to buy protein and stuff, and I think it's actually easier just because you swipe it on the iPad and sign, and then it's done. I don't have to press a bunch of buttons and ask if I want cash back and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I've seen three different boutique shops that use Square. If you guys have been to Fizz in Bountiful or any of their other locations, they have a few different locations. They're a soda shop type store. Uh, they have Square at all of their registers, and I thought that was pretty amazing when I saw that. I thought it was pretty cool, pretty ingenious of them. I think it's a good idea to save costs, save on costs, as well as provide a more convenience to the customer. I also think that it's a lot nicer than going through the checkout stand at Smith's when you have to deal with all the advertisements, all the junk that they have nowadays on the card readers, and it's a lot simpler.
Right.
I've seen it at 2 other boutique shops. The other one was here in Bountiful. It was just a little, what did they sell? Handmade purses or something like that. And then there was a shop in San Francisco called TAD, T-A-D, Triple Lot Design. They use Square, and I was impressed to see that there, because they make very expensive products, so I can't imagine it's terribly cheap for them to use Square.
I remember, now that we're talking about this, there have been a couple instances where I feel it's almost a better way to go about things, because in a traditional method of how you purchase something, you get a receipt. Sometimes they have it set up where you can choose to give a tip, and then you have to sign, and then you keep a receipt. Whereas, like for you, Austin, at your gym, when you do it on the iPad, the places that I've had a similar experience like that, you can choose a tip amount, either custom, or they have certain things set up that you can just click. And then because it's on the iPad, you can choose to email it to you, and it saves a step of printing paper, which has an environmental benefit to it.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
All right. So then, like, what could happen that would that would lessen the company's value?
If they hired somebody really dumb to set up their user interface all of a sudden, well, something that could present issues in the future. Jack Dorsey did get hired back. He doesn't mention it in the article, but Jack Dorsey has been hired back as of October 1st as the CEO of Twitter.
Do you know
What's
you know
that?
what happened to what happened to the old CEO?
Jack Dorsey, why he got fired?
No. So when he got fired and got ousted, as the article said, who took that position and what happened to him?
Let's see here. I can tell you that here in just a moment.
I mean, it's not really necessary, but
okay, so as Chief Executive Officer, Dorsey oversaw the startup through 2 rounds of funding by venture capitalists who backed the company. He reportedly lost his position for leaving work early to enjoy other pursuits such as yoga and fashion design. On October 16, 2008, Williams, who's Williams again? So some guy named Williams. Evan Williams, who he was one of the guys who helped start Twitter.
okay.
But anyway, my point with that is, I don't know if you're aware of it, but Twitter has not found a source of revenue, and one of the things that they had been looking at branching off into is payments. doing online payments. How does that affect Square? Particularly now where Jack Dorsey is CEO of both companies. How does that work? Would that cause future issues?
I mean, I think if unless he wanted to sell off Square, I think he would try and merge Square as the answer somehow. I don't know how that would make sense, but I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think you kind of brought it up. Is other competition? Because I mean, socially, person to person, individually, you have Venmo. There's one called Square Cash, which I also have. The app is green, and they actually are not super new or anything like that, but they pay you for referring people. You get like $1 every time somebody joins or something like that. So yeah, competition is what I would say.
Yeah, I think like Apple Pay and Google Pay, if those really take off, I could see how that affects it, because now all you have to do is pull your phone out and put your finger on the thumbprint scanner, and then you've paid.
Yeah.
So I could see how that could cut into it too if that takes off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how people value the ease of use of Apple Pay and Google Pay and those things for their customers, to see if that, if they want to make it easier on people. I mean, ultimately, you want the customer to have a better experience, and the grocery store at my street allows me to use Apple Pay on my phone, and it's the best. I forgot my wallet one time when I went to go buy something, and I was like, oh wait, I can pay with Apple Pay, and I was so excited to use it. So
did it just link to your debit card? Did you have to set that up in advance?
So I have the current iPhone 6s, but when I had the normal 6, I had set it up, but at the time it was running the last version software, and it was telling me to call my bank to verify it. But then they came out with the iPhone 6s and then the iOS 9, which is now 9.2 or whatever, and there was a new method of verifying, which was there was like 3 different options, I think. One was like a text message. So I was just able to verify it on my phone without having to make a phone call to my bank. So you just link whatever debit card, credit card you want to your wallet. You just click the wallet app and then click the card, and then you just put your phone on the thumbprint scanner and glide it across the sensor thing, and it bings at you, and then you're done. It's really easy. Because I hate wallets. I hate thick wallets.
Is that from the Seinfeld episode?
Exactly. So that's me.
All right.
And that way as well, then you have to buy those. You have to buy the machine, that product, those services, to be able to allow your customers to pay with Apple Pay as well. So it's a give and take.
Okay. Should do the last question. So what do you guys think the future holds for the
What are you
company?
doing?
I think they're still going to continue to do good. If they keep coming out with new things like they have been, they'll do well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the future looks pretty good for Square. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Square being publicly traded and Jack Dorsey's back at the. I don't know. Like a right guy. Seems like they'll probably be able to take him to some interesting avenues.
I think it looks bright. I think they have a long life ahead of them, especially like you said, Chris, with the CEO. I think it's quite outstanding that he got ousted on Twitter and then was trying to figure out what to do next, and then he starts up another multi-billion-dollar company soon after. I mean, I can't imagine how I would feel if I had gotten ousted after creating something like Twitter and not giving up on life, but going to start another extremely successful business.
Yeah.
So, and it says right here, I'm looking at Value in Fitness, is that they're the official merchant mobile payment service of small business. So I think that's a huge gig they've got going for them.
Anybody else?
No, I don't think so. We've gone through all the questions.
Okay.
All right. Ready to wrap this up then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay.